Think about that. That's fascinating to be able to integrate these tools. Now, you and I have lots of tools on our phones, apps on our computer, etc., that do one thing and they do them well. We use them. This is powerful because there are these components in the ArcGIS platform actually all work together. So those are some takeaways of the walkability study. I hope that was instructive. Analysis and visualization. You can see some articles here where people are looking at qualitative data and place names, movement patterns from interview transcripts, flooding perceptions. It's just expanding so rapidly, and it's really exciting to see. There's also a tool called Locate XT in the ArcGIS platform, where you can automatically identify, extract, and map locational data from large amounts of unstructured text. PDFs, text files, master's theses that are in a document, etc., and pull out the location information. So analyzing big qualitative data sets. Place-based word clouds, graph analytics with something called ArcGIS Knowledge. You can see here, this is really expanding what we think of as traditional mapping or traditional GIS even. I also encourage you not to just map your points, lines, and polygons, or your grids, or your images. Don't just stop at the mapping. Sometimes people say, hey, Joseph, I got my data mapped. And I'll say, that's great. And? Why do I say and? Because I want to challenge them to go deeper, do some analysis, right? You don't want to just map things. You want to analyze patterns, relationships, and trends. So teaching sustainability in the 21st century with GIS, here's my article about a year-long university and K-12 collaborative initiative where we brought together university instructors and high school teachers and even some middle school teachers to look at sustainability and climate and other topics. But there was a lot of social science development that worked its way into lessons that the students will actually grapple with at the secondary level. Do some analysis. There's a spatial analytics poster from Esri, and I love that. I love that poster. Take a look at that poster as well. Participatory field sketching. Remember at the beginning of this video where I talk about what's your favorite place in San Diego? We'll get to that in a moment. Smart sketching in Survey 123. You can actually sketch. That's one way of getting perspectives, attitudes. Sample survey. Let's take a look at that sample survey. What do you believe is the wetland area of the Ausable campus? This is a campus I teach environmental GIS in. Look, this is an open survey. I'm going to click on this. And I've got, I think the wetland area is here. And then I could submit that. I'm not going to for the purpose of this video, but you can see that I'm asking all my students, what's the wetland area? And then I'm looking at, okay, you think it's this, and I think it's this. What's the definition of a wetland? Is it a little bit amorphous? Is it a hard and fast boundary? Wetlands also have, by nature, boundaries that are sort of zones. They're not necessarily hard and fast boundary where 1 meter here is a wetland and over here is not a wetland. Sometimes they are, but oftentimes they're sort of a ecotone in physical geography. It's ecotone. It's a zone. It's a zone. So the sample survey results in a map then look like this. Once in my case, all the students looked at this, we came up with this. Kind of looks like a lot of blobs, but most of the people said, this area right here, there's a lot of agreement that that's the wetland area. Fascinating to be able to do this. Similar to where's your favorite place in San Diego? There's some overlaps there that I asked at the beginning of this particular workshop. Combining visualizing and analyzing responses for participatory mapping. So my colleague, Diana Lavery, and I created this favorite places in San Diego. Sorry, we created the Where's the Midwest survey. So where is the Midwest? And we wrote results about that. What do you think is the American Midwest? Now, this stems from a lot of articles in the 1980s and 1990s from Dr. Shortridge at the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk, where, at the time, it was a paper survey that went out to lots of people. What is the American Midwest? So getting an idea of regions. So it's part of a regional study. We took that idea and said, hey, we want to ask people their opinions about this, and then we're going to use some GIS tools to look at the intersection of all those polygons. And it turns out, as you can see here, that Iowa and Illinois were really in the number 1 and number 2 spots, respectively. So we combined qualitative and quantitative data, and we looked at, okay, what's the result? And we explain in this particular blog how we got the survey results and then how we did an overlapping polygon analysis to figure out, okay, what's the most common, and what's also, is Ohio part of the Midwest or not? So same thing with the San Diego survey that I talked about earlier. What's your favorite place in San Diego? This one. Remember this one? Sketch your favorite place. So you're using the same tools. You're saying, oh, my favorite place is Coronado Beach. Yeah, I love that place. Or Point Loma, etc. So I'm going to draw, how about Point Loma? That's my favorite place. And then the results go into this map. Again, these tools they work together. So the results of your survey could go in. So I've done this summarized area in square kilometers. So this one, Point Loma, actually got the most results in terms of your favorite place. Most of the polygons overlapped right there. So you see what I mean? Easily done, but powerful. And those are just 2 examples. Okay, recommendations and considerations. For qualitative researchers, GIS can be another tool in your kit. Okay? For GIS practitioners, qualitative data and methodologies can provide context and grounding, which I hope these examples and this discussion well illustrates. Different GIS tools can be used throughout the project lifecycle, and think about how might you need to adapt your informed consent and data use policies. The GIS is by nature a rocking the boat kind of a technology. It's a disruptive technology. That's a good thing. Sometimes you need to rethink about what are our policies for using and for collecting data. Challenges still exist. Many kinds of qualitative data are still not well supported in GIS tools, admittedly. We're making progress. We're not to our goal yet. It's easy to get stuck in tools and get lost in the terminology. I've tried to, in this video, explain things in a very approachable way, not using a lot of jargon. But admittedly, there are some tools that have lots of terminology in a GIS. Sometimes you're stuck with a time-consuming manual process. So there's some challenges there. There's also a continued lack of integration between GIS and computer-aided qualitative data analysis tools, like NVivo and others. Okay, we need some interoperability. Still needs to be progress needs to be made there. How can you continue moving forward in this area? Mapping meaningful places in your community. Okay. Mapping meaningful places in your community is a lesson on doing some of what I've described here in the last 47 minutes. Creating a survey to collect data on places that are important to you. So creating that project, creating that survey, mapping the results, etc. Okay, take a look at that. Crowdsource student hangouts. Ooh, what's that about? That's another lesson. Popular after-school destination for students in your city. So work through those. How to integrate ArcGIS Survey 123 and story maps. Interesting. Definitely possible. Definitely possible to crowdsource and integrate story maps and Survey 123. Now, my walkability example was another example of that. Use hosted feature layers to provide relevant data to city employees, mapping intersections or interactions between citizens and wildlife. Let's take a look at that one real briefly. That's a lesson as well. It's a real-world example what cities are actually doing. So it walks you through all of that process. Solving a spatial problem, human-environment interaction, invasive weeds in campgrounds in New Zealand. I've actually taught this lesson many times in workshops. It's a very compelling lesson, and I encourage you to go through that. It's in a fascinating part of the world too, New Zealand, and we're looking at invasive species and campgrounds and human interaction. Also, I mentioned at the beginning, there's an ESRI Social Science Initiative, and you can keep in touch with us on this page right here, which is, of course, linked to this briefing that you have as a URL at the beginning video in this set. Okay? All right. So you can use these QR codes to tell us your social science story, and there's a dashboard and other things that you can take a look at. Okay? So, enhancing qualitative social science research with GIS. I'm really happy to be with you today. I hope this has been valuable, get you thinking in new ways and integrating qualitative and quantitative research and methods using these powerful and yet easy to use tools at your fingertips. Thanks for being with me, and map on.